I want to talk to those of you in the GOP who are fully committed to Donald Trump and what he brought to the Republican Party. I don't mean this in any way critical, disparagingly. I actually mean it lovingly because I actually think the Republican Party needs you. And frankly, I think the Republican Party needs some of the disruption that President Trump has brought. A lot of the establishment Republicans have been too friendly with Wall Street and they've ignored Main Street. And the president has forced them to pay attention to Main Street and to non-college educated white voters. The president has forced them to pay attention to cultural issues that they gave lip service to but didn't want to work for. And now we know Hispanic and black voters actually resonate and drew to the GOP because of those issues. The GOP needs the Trump wing of the party. The Trump wing of the party does need the establishment wing, but I want to really focus in on something with Trump supporters. Whether you like Liz Cheney or not, whether you now think that Dick Cheney, who was the conservative's conservative during the Bush administration, is somehow too squishy, what you need to understand is they know how to count votes. They know politics and policy, and they know how to count votes. And what we saw is the clown show from Matt Gaetz distracted from the fact that the Cheney team could count the votes. Liz Cheney last night forced them into having the vote. They were otherwise probably going to drag it out. She knew she had the votes. What's remarkable is that you had a number of members of the Trump wing who thought they had the votes and they didn't. If you want to exert your influence and power within the Republican Party, you need to learn how to count votes. There is help. Jim DeMint, when he was in the House and the Senate, became a unifying force for conservatives. I love Jim DeMint. We disagree on some stuff. We disagreed about the election. He signed the letter saying state legislatures could intervene. I disagree with him, but I think the world of Jim DeMint, and he's got a first-class team around him. One of the things that they have wanted to do for years is to train staff members on being good inside Congress. The establishment guys tend to develop staffers who get the inside baseball fundamentals and dynamics. Mark Meadows has left the White House, and he's moved over, the conservative partnership with Jim DeMint? Essentially, it's a place where conservatives of different stripes can come, and they can work together and find common ground. But more particularly, those who are interested in the day-to-day politics of Capitol Hill can go, and they can become better. And if you are at all interested in helping advance whatever you believe Trumpism to be, and multiple people have multiple different things, you need to go to Jim DeMint. And you need to go to Jim DeMint's team. And you need to let them teach you how to be good on Capitol Hill. If you're a young person and you want to get involved in politics, you need to go up there and get trained on how to work on Capitol Hill, and you need to go work on Capitol Hill. And you need to become good at counting votes. You need to become good at working behind the scenes to obstruct bad things. You need to become good at talking to friendly reporters. You need to become good at not doing the on-camera clown show that Matt Gaetz did, but the behind-the-scenes machinations that Liz Cheney's team did to ensure that she got the votes. Conservatives in Washington have, for the last 4 years, been able to rely on the Trump administration to advance policies they like. They can't rely on that now. In fact, they can't even rely on the Republican leadership really to do it. There are enough Republicans who will help the Democrats pursue bad policy. You got to not only be able to blow stuff up, but you've got to be able to count the votes to be able to stop bad things from happening, but also be able to count the votes to pick off a few Democrats because the margins are narrow. You need training to do that because it's very clear to me looking at this that there are not a lot of grassroots operators within the House of Representatives on the Trump side of things to be able to get done in private what they need to get done. And the reality is a lot of what gets done in private. Find Jim DeMint. Find Jim DeMint's team. He has had this vision forever of training conservatives and embedding them on Capitol Hill. And the Trump wing of the party needs that. Look, there are a lot of things I disagree with the Trump team on. The election is one of them. I don't think it was lost. I don't think it was fraud. I think it was actually lost. But on paying attention to the working class, the GOP needs that. They need a swift kick in the butt. On paying attention to things beyond tax policy, including cultural issues, they need that. On paying attention to big tech, the Republicans need this. The Republicans need this focus. There are a lot of people who get very comfortable in Washington, D.C., who live inside the bubble, who hobnob with the press. They don't go home. They don't relate necessarily to the people back home. And they think the Washington worldview is the way things work. You've got to go back and be immersed within the people of your districts. But also, you've got to surround yourself with staff who aren't there egging you on to go on Fox and OAN and Newsmax all the time, but to actually behind the scenes put in the sweat equity and get things done. There is no better person to learn from than Jim DeMint on this. But also, Mark Meadows has left the White House and is there to help him recruit more candidates to advance that vision. And to advance those candidates, you've got to advance staff level members who can help those candidates when they get to Washington. I have seen so many people get elected to go to Washington who were right on issues and then got there and got consumed by the system, didn't know what they were doing, and they were surrounded by staffers who did not know how to fight. The fighting in the shadows is different. And you need people like Mark Meadows and Jim DeMint and the great team around them to teach you how to do it. Cheney probably couldn't have been beaten, but maybe so. But it doesn't make you look serious or good or your side competent when you have people like Matt Gaetz out there telling everyone, we got the votes, we want them to give us a vote tonight. They're not going to give us because they don't want to stop her. They give you the vote and you lose. That's clown show. And you don't need clown show, you need competence. Find Jim DeMint. Go check out the Conservative Partnership. Go talk to those guys. If you're interested at all in advancing what you believe in as a conservative, as someone who supports President Trump's policies, you need to go work on Capitol Hill, and you need these guys to teach you how to do it because they know better than a lot of the people on Capitol Hill how, as a conservative, to do in-runs and tie, frankly, the Republican leadership in knots. And frankly, Kevin McCarthy needs to be tied in knots sometimes and stopped.